Joining us now, the director of the Anti-Defamation League, Abe Foxman. Abe, we appreciate you joining us here on America's Forum.
It's good to be here, and especially good to be able to talk to you from Jerusalem.
Yes, as you are now in Israel, we understand there is a breaking story. Concerns that that 3 Israeli students may have been kidnapped. What are you hearing on the situation? We have up now the webpage of the Jerusalem Post. Since this is breaking news, Abe, what can you tell us about that?
Well, it's, in this country, it's a small country, and everybody feels part of a family. So when 3 Israeli young students all of a sudden disappear, it looks like they were kidnapped as a result of a hitchhike last night somewhere on the West Bank. It's like the country's about to come to a standstill because it's Shabbat, it's Friday night, it's Erev Shabbat, but it also has come all of a sudden united because of this possible tragedy. The Prime Minister has called an emergency meeting. He's reached out to the families, and everybody's holding their breath that this will wind up innocently rather than, God forbid, tragically.
Abe, we talk about that intensely personal situation for families and for all of Israel as the fate of these 3 students may hang in the balance. But in a larger scenario involving nation states, it appears that the dominoes are falling in the Mideast. ISIS working to take over essential parts of Iraq, in fact, to bridge that with a portion of Syria. And you see this disintegration in Iraq. What does that portend for Israel geopolitically?
Well, it should, for reasonable, rational people, make Israel a more significant ally, a more significant partner for democracies and those who value freedom. So you would think that as the Middle East disintegrates, instability and terrorism and religious differences, then the Western Europeans and certainly the United States will see Israel as a stronger asset, a more significant asset, and come closer. Unfortunately, I don't see it. I still don't see it. I don't see that type of appreciation yet, even though the relationship on the intelligence and military level, we are told, is very, very significant. I hope that it will spill over into the political level. America needs friends and allies. It needs friends and allies who are ready to stand up, who have the courage to stand up against terrorism, against religious militarism, extremism. And so I think democracies need to stand together much tighter than they've stood a year or 2 ago, especially in relations to the Middle East.
Well, Abe, as you mentioned that, it's been interesting to see what has transpired with the American government and the Obama administration and the State Department on a couple of different fronts. First, let's listen to what President Obama had to say about the conflict in Iraq. Apparently, we're having some difficulty getting that audio, but let me bring it back to what is transpiring now in terms of Palestinians trying to incorporate. Well, we do have, I'm pleased to say, we do have the remarks of our president right now. We'll listen to them first, Abe, and then get your response. Here's President Obama.
You have a stake in making sure that these jihadists are not getting a permanent foothold in either Iraq or Syria, for that matter.
Well, that may be the case. It appears that the foothold is strong. Now, Abe, let me return to a line of optimistic reasoning you offered, where you said it should be apparent to the United States and to Western European democracies that the role of Israel becomes that much more vital and crucial as the Middle East goes into upheaval. I'm interested especially now on the stance of the State Department and perhaps strategic ambiguity involving the Palestinian Authority and the amalgamation, the incorporation of Hamas into a ruling or a governing situation there for the Palestinians. In your opinion, does that undercut Israel?
Well, I think that mistakes are being made on both sides of the Mediterranean, and I think the United States overreacted too quickly. I think the United States should have said, "Look, let's see and let's wait and see. You want to come together? You want to speak with one voice? Okay, you know the conditions for you to be recognized as a significant element for peace. Let's see whether your reconciliation partner is willing to accept Israel, make peace, accept all past agreements." If I were the U.S. and they would have asked me, I would have said, "Keep cool. Don't jump to say we're going to work with them till you see what happens. Give it a couple of months. Let's test them. If in fact this new combination are not terrorists, we believe they are, but let them prove themselves." So I think there was a mistake to jump that quickly to say, starting with tomorrow, we're going to work with them. On the Israeli side, I think it's possibly the same thing. Israel has always said, how can we negotiate peace with Abbas? He only speaks for half his nation. Well, maybe now he speaks for the whole nation. So if that's the case, if the Israelis would ask me, I would say also give them a period of time. Don't engage tomorrow, but don't also begin punishing them or disengage. Say to them, all right, we'll watch for the next 3 months. You know what the conditions are for negotiations. You know what the conditions are to move forward on peace. If you can establish them, if you can maintain security, if you continue to work with us with security, then maybe we can move forward. So I think mistakes were made on both sides. It's interesting that Israel, while it criticized and said they won't work with them, did transfer last week, almost on the first day of this Reconciliation Unity government, $500 million shekels for salaries, because the salaries go for the average Yusuf in the West Bank. Some of them are security people. Some of them work, the water projects, etc. So there was an interest and a message to say, look, if you hold by your bargain, if you keep the terrorists out, if you take the lead voice over them, there's a chance for us to work. So, you know what? Both parties, I think, prejudged, and now we're going to have to wait and see.
All right, Mr. Foxman, I want to return real quickly for a second, sir. I want to turn to politics back here in the United States and talk to you about the defeat of Eric Cantor this week. He was, or still is, I guess, technically the only Jewish member of the Republican Party in the House of Representatives. Is there going to be a significant impact here for Cantor's loss and his influence in these circles?
Well, look, no, in terms of support, he certainly was out there, a clear support of a strong America, a strong Israel, strong bilateral relations. I think it's part of the American political review and experience. He's not the first one who's paid a price in Washington for being perceived as serving the nation above the local community. I think it's sad and tragic, because I think America is losing a great leader now and in the future, but I don't think his political career is over. So, I don't think we should read into it anything but, this is part of our democracy. You represent the local constituency.
Abe Foxman,
if you go too far.
Understood. About a minute and a half remain. We need to move to this topic before we part company, and that is the IRS, the subject of an ongoing scandal due to targeting of specific groups. An investigation by the Washington Free Beacon revealed that at least 5 pro-Israel organizations may have been targeted. And in 2010, a pro-Israel organization, Z Street, filed a lawsuit against the IRS, claiming it had been told by an IRS agent that because the organization was, quote, connected to Israel, its application for tax-exempt status would receive extra scrutiny. Mr. Foxman, in the 50 seconds that remain, why do you think Jewish groups were targeted?
Well, I'm not ready to jump to conclusions, but as you and I know, our bureaucratic system, including the IRS, has from time to time, depending on what the administration was, has taken some actions almost on its own leadership. So I think if it's true, I think it's very distressing. But I know that from time to time, there are those who act in some of our bureaucratic structures based on their own whims and political direction. If it is true, it's very disturbing.
And that's where we'll have to leave it. Abe Foxman, we thank you for your time checking in from Israel with the Anti-Defamation League. We're coming right back.